Hello, this is Dale Matthews, and I'm not alone. Mike's here with me. Hello, Mike.
Yes. Dale, so are you having some regularity issues?
No, we're on every night.
Yes, I see that. Yes.
Well,
There's a little tribute to what is it, Curry counties, or is it Curry, or what county is this up
oh, the
there?
guy's name I even for. Oh
Yes.
man, that's good. No, Mike had mentioned last night something about from Saturday Night Live about colon blow and new and improved super colon blow, and you'll see here. This is Cheryl Walker, or is it Tina Fey? And this is colon blow, and what she's saying is similar to what Keith X said the other night. Don't point that colon blow at me. Mm-hmm.
Yes, right. Okay, I'm not sure where that comes from, but alrighty then.
Right, right. So, at any rate, why do we have colon blow up here? Because this is the almost exactly the 1 year anniversary of Cheryl Walker having 3 weeks of knockdown, drag out fights. And I mean, they were acrimonious, with Simon Hare and Jim Moore of the Daily Courier. That's this Daily Courier was there for every meeting when Cheryl Walker was trying to ream a new one, and Simon Hare, and he wasn't having any of it, buddy. And it was centering around, he said, "Where's our economic development plan?" And she kept
Yeah.
saying, "Well, I've got one, I've got one, I've got one, I've got one." And nobody could see where it was. And about 6 months later, she actually came up with something. Now, we paid to get a copy of this thing, and we pay a lot of money. Remember when Simon Hare said, "Mr. Matthews, it's going to cost you a lot of money to keep up with what your government is doing"? That's nice. So we did. We
That's the
paid for
most
that.
transparent government in the world.
He did say that. He did
Yes.
say that. He also said this is probably the best board of commissioners we've ever had in the history of Josephine County.
Right. And just for the record, whenever a politician says we are going to be the most, we're going to be the best at anything, be prepared for the 180 of that. And as you see in both of these cases.
Well, we are number one in one thing in the entire state. Everybody in Salem agrees. We're absolutely number one. Corruption.
All right.
And
Yes.
corruption. Yeah, well, we're number one. Hey, there's nobody that can touch us on that one. Curry County comes up pretty close, but we're still number one. So,
Well, you would think that they would want to come in here and clean up this town, but they
that's what
don't
I
seem to
thought.
have any desire to do anything. You
All
would
they do
think
is laugh.
if they consider this to be the most corrupt county in the state, why don't they do anything when it comes to complaints about ethics
We
issues?
have them on videotape. I even said that to the state elections guys. I said to them, "You got to stop laughing at us because we're bringing you the evidence on tape, and you're even admitting it's illegal, but you're not going to do anything." Well, we're thinking about it. What is there to think about? It's either breaking the law
Well,
or it's not.
right, and so then they become part of the problem.
Yes, and
So
look, here's
it
another part
isn't
of the problem. This thing with the commissioners has even gotten up to the point. This is really amazing, where Jim Moore is writing about it. That the state ethics people are looking into Cheryl Walker, this lady right here, and Simon Hare, this guy right here, and they're even looking at them to say, these guys are obviously breaking, or they've done. Look, they took immediate action. Simon said it was an emergency thing that needed to be done. They brought it up without any comment from anybody, and they signed it out of the presence of the public. So when they want to move on something that's going to profit them individually, where they can put money in their pockets, they're ready to move right away, buddy. But economic
yeah.
development, this has been 1 year since the 7 videos. We're going to show you 7 videos tonight and 7 tomorrow night, all on the same theme. What was it that they were saying back and forth? My favorite quote from the whole thing probably comes from Cheryl Walker, who said, "I'm going to be listening to Simon Hare. Why, he's not even he's younger than my grandson."
Yes.
And the
All
best
right.
part of all
There you have it.
is tomorrow night, Wednesday night, the city council is going to vote they've already decided it's going to be in the consent calendar, which means we've already made up our mind. They're voting to give $75,000 to an outside firm to finally develop some kind of economic development plan, because apparently they can't do it either. And this lady right here has finally given in that your money, your county money, $37,500 is going to be spent on getting someone to come up with economic development plans that she never was able to come up with. We paid for this stack of papers, and it's mostly made up of photocopies of other people's ideas. Photocopies of other people's ideas. This was her economic development plan. And have you seen any of it in action? Well, yes. How about all that money for 90 jobs that are going to be created by a plaque on a rock? That's Cheryl Walker's economic development plan. Do you feel more prosperous now? Have you been there to see the plaque?
Listen. You heard what I said last night about this sort of thing. I think this is not a function of government. Unfortunately, it just isn't. I mean, there's a bunch of people who say they want to get economic development programs run. This is the kind of stuff they're talking about. I think they're completely wrong. I don't think that government being in the business of manipulating economic development is an idea that works. I just don't think it does, because they're stupid.
Okay, to survive tonight and tomorrow night, you're going to need to set part of that aside and listen to what Cheryl Walker is saying and what Simon Harris questioning about the idea, if you're going to be spending money, which, okay, I agree is not a good idea to let them do. If you're going to be spending money, it better be for something. Okay. So the first clip that we're going to play tonight, this is from a year ago, 3.5 minutes. I call it Prelude to War. Walker cites school district as economic partner, though they don't like her ideas. Play that tape.
At what point do we, in my opinion, and maybe I'm wrong, hire that project manager to say whether you're retrofitting the old facility, we choose to do that, whether we're buying the pod systems or a combination of both. It sounds like that could be an option too. Maybe you have to do a pod from the airport, but you could improve the old existing facility for the industrial park in the school district. Hiring somebody to say, you need to get us capacity for 20 years. That's your goal. Figure out how to do it. Bring us a proposal. Coordinate funding streams and grant management, and interfacing with the Infrastructure Finance Authority, and asking those questions of this engineering thing that says, this is what they do. I'm just learning from experience with the Demick Tower. We wouldn't be here right now if it wasn't for Seth Otto and that Mall Foster Alonji.
I think where we are, Simon, right now is that, and I'm not meaning to be negative toward the school district, but it's been very difficult because they don't seem to know what they want to do with their plans. And it has been very difficult for us to get them to acknowledge that they need to invest a considerable amount of money in that plant. I mean, right here in this, it says, the equipment is in poor condition, is not recommended to be used for future expansion. That's right in this report.
Right.
So when they say that in here,
so
it's not recommended for future expansion and it's in poor condition.
Then maybe a member of this board, or even Rob, saying that we've hired somebody, and the Mall Foster's been great interfacing with the city in a way that that's what I've been doing. So I see that kind of as a middle person that is, I'm not
right.
I'm working
I think
for
what
the
I
county,
what I see in this report is that for us to even, it's a possibility. We can entertain using that facility, but the difficulty that we've had in regards to, because their school board changes, their staff changes, how many people have we had to work with already in the last year? 4 or 5, in the last year, and they are no further along in admitting this line. It should not be used for future expansions in poor condition.
Well,
we need to move forward.
Could be because they've got a consultant that says that it can be retrofitted. The number I've heard is $350,000. And I said, if that's the encumbrance to get you to a capacity of 30,000 gallons or whatever it is for 20 years, we can write a check for that. The county has a
are they
reserve
being
in
realistic?
the North Valley area. That's the kicker.
I don't
Is
think
if
it's
they're not,
realistic.
I can't flush 350,000, which would be the, you know, our whole match for whatever infrastructure.
Mr. real hard
Crew is
time.
using that soundbite repeatedly, I can assure you.
Well, that's
Without the big caveat of the leader.
But your maintenance cost every year is 50
Eating them
grand
up.
or
Maintenance cost
whatever.
is eating them up, and they're going to reach a point at the school district that they're not going to be able to meet that cost. And but anyway, you know, when you look at this and hear the recommendation from the company in regards to the facilities, I'm not inclined to spend our hard-earned taxpayer money in Josephine County on a facility that should not be used for future expansion. You know, I have a hard time with that.
Well,
Really do.
That's
So
another reason for a project manager.
So
somebody was suggesting that perhaps Cheryl Walker was not up to the task, perhaps.
that's exactly what was happening there, and she was having none of it, buddy. And she went to the Infrastructure Finance Authority on her own and convinced them that the school district was on board. And so I went to the school district meeting. I said, do you know what they're saying? Because Rob Brandis sitting there with his back to us. How rude. And he was trying to tell them that they need to get on board, and they didn't want to get on board. But Cheryl told the Infrastructure Finance Authority that gave us the money that they were on board. That's not true. So they were not happy to hear the news that she was telling them that. And I believe that they talked to her. They're not going to admit that they did. But then after they went to that meeting, suddenly she stopped saying that they were on board. Go figure. So Simon wanted action. He wanted not just, you know, it's manipulation. It's lying. It's just straight out. It's flat out lying because they were not. Rob Brandis, who the fellow with his back to us, he said, well, I'll go talk to him. And he said, besides, once we get the money, they're going to want to come on board. Well, I told them that too. And they said, oh, really? Well, that just toughened their resolve. They think that, I don't know what they think, but at least one person there thinks that she's full of it and that she needs this.
or something like that. Now, now I couldn't quite hear it because, you know, your sound guy for this audio, for this video was, you know, I don't know what he was, what his headphones look like, but they're, yeah. So what was Rob Brandis saying about somebody's going to use this as a soundbite?
Yeah, he did say that, didn't he? And I never could figure out what he was saying. I even transcribed this, and I never understood what he meant. But I think what he was saying, because I don't want to quote somebody and get it wrong. I don't. I think what he was saying was that this is one of those times when you got to be careful what you're saying because it could be used as a soundbite. I think that's what he meant, and he may have been talking about us.
Well, in this case, he was 100% right.
Yes, he was 100% right. Okay, yes. So this escalated. I called this prelude to war because Simon's saying, now, wait a minute. What are we doing about the North Valley Industrial Park? And Cheryl says, you know, I got a handle on this. Why? Everything's under control. So I call this next one prelude to war. Walker consolidates power, excluding the board from her plans until fully in place. 2.5 minutes.
So what are we doing with economic development? Is there a plan?
Well, that's what I'm working on. I want to meet with Arthur to make sure I have all my numbers right, because what we need to do is, and I'm just going to report next week when Keith is here, but I met with Soretti and Civil West Engineering. I got the final report on the North Valley Industrial Park sewer project. And the next step, in fact, I have a conference call with Fumi Shop today in regards to how to proceed to see what kind of financing would be available to us for that project. And we will undoubtedly have some funds.
Are we getting a presentation?
We have a presentation on, was that Friday? Monday. It was on Monday. We weren't here. And but we had a presentation from Civil West, so I have that information.
This last Monday?
So I gave you each a folder that has the final report, and I'm going to write a summary of that meeting and give it to you. And then I'm talking to Fumi Shop.
Scheduled. I would have liked to have been there.
Scheduled 2 weeks ago.
Wasn't even aware of it.
It was just requested, because it didn't want, it wasn't public.
Oh, so Commissioner Heck wasn't there?
No,
Wasn't
I wasn't there.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I thought.
We had,
When you said we had a presentation, you meant
well, it
before.
was Rob Brandis. It was Rob Brandis, it was, Civil West, Ray, Chamber, School District. So we had, his name from Seattle,
That's okay.
federal, anyway,
So you're gonna have a report on that
yes, I'm gonna give a
presentation?
report on it.
When do we get a presentation?
I did town's board presentation scheduled.
Yes.
When do we get a report?
Yes, the pressure is building. Cheryl Walker, instead of Cheryl Walker, Texas Ranger, this is Cheryl Walker, Lone Ranger.
Yes, yes, and okay, that typing sound in the background was a little distracting, but we have the full tape, of course, of the entire meeting. You know, we got all these meetings, but it was interesting. Simon felt that, and I think quite rightly, that she was freezing him out. I asked him afterwards. I said, "Aren't you the liaison to Rob Brandis and Public Works?" Yeah, and I said, "Simon, Public Works is having meetings with Cheryl Walker and coming up with projects of how to convince the school board that they ought to see the light according to Cheryl Walker, and he's not communicating with you." He was not happy. Your own liaison person does not talk to you and tell you what the plans are, and is surprising him that this is going on. He wasn't getting any information, neither of the commissioner. Well, Keith Heck, you know, you could tell him something and tell him and tell him. But this guy's paying attention. He thought that his crowning achievement would be tearing down a building. As it turns out, that happened such a long time ago. They didn't have any plans to do what to do next. No plans, still no plans. And that's been over 6 months now. No plans, not even a schedule to put it on the calendar to talk about potentially having a plan. Nothing. That's how they put it. They don't they don't even know when they're going to talk about that.
I'm not surprised about that at all. You know what? It's an empty parking lot now. What do you do with that? I mean,
park on it.
Well, commercially, this town is sort of number one. They overbuilt it, during the last boom, and now, I mean, who wants to do this? And they're going to have to deal with whatever is going to need to be done on that site pre-building the building. I don't know.
Well, their number one economic development plan for that is the fast-growing industry of older citizens that don't have any money.
Okay. Well,
yeah, just think of how much money is going to be made from that.
If some private concern wants to buy that lot and build a convalescent home on it, more power to them.
That's a little different. This would be talking about senior housing for people with low income.
Owned by the county, you mean?
Yeah. Well, at this point, yes. This is their plan.
I think that's a bad idea.
You think?
Well, yeah, because it's millions of dollars of outlay to begin with, and if it's low income housing, the payback on that is going to be low and slow.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's
the plan
idea.
if they ever talk about it, which they can't even schedule the time to talk about it.
Yeah, whatever.
Economic development.
Yes, right. I rest my case.
Yeah, blow it out your cereal,
Yes.
Man. Okay, so then this whole thing finally exploded. Sorry.
Yes.
Finally exploded onto the scene.
This was quite a day.
Oh, yeah. Where Walker decided to kind of attack Hare because he brought it to a weekly business session. He wasn't getting any answers. And you can see Keith Heck take sides. And Keith says at this point, Simon Hare was running for office. And Heck was agreeing with Walker when she was kind of attacking him. And Heck says, I try to read between the lines of obtuse statements that change. Play that videotape.
I will be proposing an economic development director position. Requesting a project manager for the North Valley Industrial Park are two things that I will not sit back and wait for anymore. I had a meeting with a North Valley sewer tenant last week who is very concerned about the future development of his business and being impeded by the creation of a North Valley sewer system that can facilitate that. Actually, two of them, two businesses up there, that we can't afford for them to be looking elsewhere because of structural impediments that the county needs to facilitate a solution to. So those are my comments.
Commissioner Heck?
Yeah, I mean, it's nice to know your comments.
They actually weren't for you, Commissioner Heck. They were for the public. That's the part that matters for commissioners.
Oh, well, I thought you'd already made decisions of what we're going to do with the economic development and Rob's job and all that other kind of stuff. So I misunderstood, apparently. I know it's not the first time, and it won't be the last time either, that I try to read between the lines of some obtuse statements that change.
Really?
What a covertly hostile guy he is. You know, that's just.
Now, sitting in the same audience as we were is Jim Moore of the Daily Courier, and he's seeing this unfold before him. Not a single word of this discussion, nor any subsequent discussions, ended up in the Daily Courier. Nothing. Zero. Nada. We did 16 stories about this running gunfight at the weekly business session, where you'll see tomorrow, finally, citizens stood up and said, you guys, cut it out. You're not getting any business. This is none of your business. At a weekly business session?
Yeah.
Not a single word of it in the Courier. They are not going to print this kind of stuff. So,
yeah, there's a code apparently is speak nothing bad about local government, regardless who it is in local government.
Well, here's a little 1-minute clip where continuing the Walker attacks on Simon, and she says in this one, Keith Heck is not the economic development liaison, and neither are you. Play that one.
Let's try something. Let's endeavor to make something work that we can see, and we can turn around at the end of the day and say, yeah, that was a progressive thing that we tried to do, and it worked. Now, it might not have worked as great as we thought it was going to work. A few things do, but it worked. Doggone it. And instead of making $50 million, we made $50, but we made money and we didn't lose it. And so the idea of trying to do things together, I think, is an important concept, and we need to press on and to move with some kind of a coordinated effort. So, end my sermonette.
May I ask a question? What is your proposal? Let's try something. I am all in favor of
Commissioner Heck
something.
is not the economic development liaison.
Right. I agree.
And neither are you.
Oh, that's pleasant.
Well, you know, it's a good thing that he set him straight on that, because I'm guessing he thought he was.
This was not a good time, and we're sitting there going, oh, we don't need to say anything. We'll just let them carry through with this. One thing that I did was get up at a later session and called out Jim Moore by name. Jim Moore, you're sitting right here in the same meeting that we are. Why is this not, and none of this is ending up in the Courier, absolutely none of it. And he's just sitting back there fuming. So, no, they're not going to, I mean, it's right there in front of you. And they were not getting along well. And Keith Heck is saying, well, you know, even if we don't make $50,000, but we only make $50, why, we've tried. Where have we heard that again recently? Do you remember a little speech that he gave about that recently, Mike? About how $600,000 software.
Oh,
and, yeah, that wasn't
yes. Yeah, no, that's true.
Yeah, and at least we found out what
course.
we don't want. Woohoo! Success.
No, and you know, this just continues to buttress my case as we go further.
Yes, yes. But and what is your case? Oh, wait a minute. You're not the case butter? No.
Yes,
Never
right.
mind. And
Yes.
neither am I.
And neither am I. Yes, right. Yeah.
Okay, so in this little 1 minute piece, Walker gets on Hare again, and she starts to say he didn't want to do it. See, he had handed her contention is he had given her the job.
Right.
He didn't want to do it. He hadn't been able to accomplish, and it's obvious she's going to say he hadn't been able to accomplish anything on his own, and then she stops. You'll see. You'll see.
So anyway, are you finished, Mr.?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Commissioner Heck and I took office about 18 months ago. And I hadn't been in there very long when I was approached by Commissioner Hare and asked if I would like to do the economic development stuff because he didn't want to do it. He hadn't been able to accomplish. He'd been in office 2 years, and he wanted me to take the economic development program. And it is a challenge. It is a huge challenge. The research has been phenomenal. The meetings I've had to attend, the information I've had together, the people I've had to get together, the people I've interviewed, the things I've had to do have been monumental to get a handle on what we need in Josephine County, what will fit in Josephine County, because what other economic development people put out may not fit here. So you have to sort through a lot of information to get to where something is going to work for Josephine County. And that's what I've been working on. At that same time, he also came to me and asked what I knew about the North Valley Industrial Park and the sewer problem out there. And my response was, it's 20 years overdue. Nothing has happened in 20 years, including the previous 2 years that Commissioner Hare had been in office.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Now what we know, what we suspected at the time, and you could see it on Simon's face. He's like, I'm not buying any of this, okay? Now what we know is all that research. What was it that she did, Mike? I did research. I attended meetings. We're totally different than any other county on earth.
It was monumental.
Monumental.
Yes.
Okay. Like the monument being established here.
There'll be we'll have a monument to Cheryl Walker up there at the North Valley. As you enter the North Valley Industrial Park, there she'll be in bronze.
Well, I've got a beginning right here. There you go.
Yes. Yeah. There you go. That's the perfect pose for it too. And
yes,
we have to figure out what she'll be holding in her right hand.
We know what she's going to be holding.
And, oh yes, that's right. No, yeah, but the colon blow would be in the left hand down here. What would be in the a big spoon?
Here.
A big spoon.
Yeah, a big spoon, right? Okay. Well, look, now we know. I know we're laughing about this. It's okay. It's our show. My mother gave me permission just yesterday. That would be very difficult. So we know now what the results were of all that study. The results are she's totally given up. We're going to spend another $37,000 plus to let somebody else come up with the plans because her plans have been bull, really. I mean, there are no plans. We're going to spend extra money. We agreed to give the money to the city. They're going to vote on this tomorrow night to go ahead and spend the money. They're going to spend $75,000. We're going to spend $37,000 plus to get somebody else to do the plans, because none of these plans have worked. Now, we got the plans. They were all derivative. They were all photocopies of other people's ideas. This was her plan, and nothing has happened. None of those things in that packet of information have happened. She's totally given up. We're now going to throw more money at this and let somebody else make the decisions for us because it was, you just heard her. It's too difficult. I'm doing everything and I'm going to all these meetings. All that was wasted time. And meantime, where are the citizens with their ideas? Okay, whatever you think about them. The green gold guys out in IV have come forward and said, look, it's a legal agricultural crop. What are you doing standing in the way? No, we're not going to. We're going to put up regulations that make it impossible. Okay, or come up with crops that are going to eat your crops alive. Okay, or the miners. Well, look, we've got this. No, there's too many things that can't be done. Hey, these are two of the potential Whether you like them or not, don't dig up the land, okay? Don't smoke anything, that's both sides of that argument. They're from different camps and they don't want. So where's the economic development? But we've got an idea, ramps in a state park. There's our economic development, Cheryl Walker. So how do you feel about the fact that the commissioners already voted to give them the money and they haven't seen the plan?
Yeah, this is just more government as usual. I don't see anything,
Oh, don't roll over on us now, Mike. Come on now. Fight back, Mike.
Well, no, it's just, listen, if you expect more than this from government, you're expecting too much. You're not going to get it.
I'm going to disagree with you. At the very least, they could take part of that money, stop giving it to somebody like IVCDO, who is supposed to hand out money, and they can't do it because they're not ready. Why'd we give them the money if they're not ready to hand it out? But besides that, and when they come up with another goofy plan and say this is going to mean 10,000 jobs, don't believe them. They've lied to you before. It was a lie. This wasn't an exaggeration.
Well,
it was a lie.
It isn't a lie. It isn't a lie when you don't know. I mean, these people are naive enough to where they may actually believe this mumbo jumbo that they're saying. No, they really don't know. They want to believe it. Why do you think they're going with this stuff? Because they think it's going to be successful, and their praise is going to rain down from heaven on them.
I think the reason that she's doing this is she wants to look like she's doing something and can be trusted with this job when she obviously cannot be trusted with this job. What they need to do with any money that they have is make it easier for people to start businesses, to cut back on the regulations, to say if you want to start a new one this week only, we're having a going out of business sale, which we are. Well, that was pretty good. And we're going to cut back. There's going to be no charge to do FRAMIS operations or whatever words you want to make up, right? And so and it floats all boats, whatever floats your boat. And it's an infrastructure.
It's not going to work, and the main reason behind that is that Cheryl Walker doesn't like people. So she's not going to do anything that is helpful to them. I mean, that's...
All right. So what is her version of this?
You know what? I don't have to prove my point. They prove my point for me.
They do. Yes, you're right. You're quite right. And this little half-minute clip, Walker's version of what happened is that Simon Hare, as she put it, willingly and joyfully gave me the files for economic development. He was glad to get rid of them.
He willingly and joyfully gave me the files on the North Valley Industrial Park and the sewer project. He was glad to get rid of them. So for 2 years, he didn't deliver a product. And now he's trying to say he's going to propose an economic development director because he knows best.
Yeah,
that'll teach him a lesson to try to come up and cross swords with Cheryl Walker.
Right.
That was clip number 6 out of 7. See, this went by pretty quickly. Yeah, pretty quickly. So, and we're going to play 7 more tomorrow night, including the famous one where she says that he's too young to make decisions.
And I have a clip here at the end. I'm going to throw in at the end.
Oh, do you? Okay. Well, I got one more.
Time.
We've got one more, and that is she sums up what her feeling is. Hare wants to pay an economic development director. That's my job. That's my job.
Yeah.
I can't believe that Commissioner Hare wants to pay an economic development director and pay someone else at this point in time when the county is so financially strapped that we can't afford that as long as we can work in-house. And I'm saying, yes, we will need to have a project manager for this project, but this isn't the time for it, not until we have all the players on board. Once we have all the players on board and can move forward with a contract, then we need to have them, because someone will have to, on a daily basis, be managing the contract and working with every one of those players. We are elected as commissioners in this county to also be administrators. So Commissioner Hare is very quick to want to continue to contract out all the administration duties. I'm sorry, I'm not going to go there. That's my job too.
Well, now, Cheryl Walker, you look to be a big fat liar there, bud, because that's exactly what you just voted to do, and that's what the city council is going to vote to do tomorrow night, to hand it off to somebody else and not you.
Yeah, I mean, it was almost like an episode of Jerry Springer. There was going to be some head bobbing. Oh, no, you don't.
It's amazing to me. What's so cool about this show and about videotaping things over the years is that we remember what they said. They would prefer that you not remember what they said, and then all we have to do is just bring out the tape and hear Cheryl Walker saying, "We're not going to pay someone else to come up. Well, we're going to do it in-house." Except now they're going to pay someone else to do it because she couldn't handle it. Isn't it delicious?
Right. Yes, it's delicious.
All right, now speaking of delicious, as opposed to colon blow, and tomorrow we'll have super colon blow, Mike purports to have some kind of video. What's this video that you say that you have?
Well, you know what? This is Jim Jensen posted one of my favorite videos of all time online here last couple of days.
Careful that it's not copyright protected, Mike. Go ahead.
Oh no, it isn't. This is public domain stuff here. But there's a part of this that sums up my view of government as it relates to its meddling in the economy and economic development.
Oh, yes, no.
It could be anything. And so here we go. Many of you may remember this, but it's an old video, but it's one of the, in my personal opinion, one of the best of all time. Here we go.
Full power of centralized government. This was the very thing the Founding Fathers sought to minimize. They knew that governments don't control things. A government can't control the economy without controlling people. And they know when a government sets out to do that, it must use force and coercion to achieve its purpose. They also knew, those Founding Fathers, that outside of its legitimate functions, government does nothing as well or as economically as the private sector of the economy.
There we go. I rest my case.
I love Peggy Noonan, who wrote almost all of that. Thank you very much, Peggy Noonan.
Well, I don't know. Was Peggy Noonan on board? This was 1964.
No, she was not.
Yes, Peggy Noonan. I have to admit, in my younger days, I had sort of a crush on Peggy Noonan. I thought she was the hottest thing walking, and she did write a lot of Ronald Reagan speeches, but this one here was very well performed, and I remember seeing this back, maybe in the prelude to the 1980 election, and going, wow, I can't believe that somebody is saying what I'm thinking. And you can see this on YouTube, the whole thing. It's a time for choosing Ronald Reagan, and he was advocating for the election of Barry Goldwater.
Wow.
In 1964. It's old school stuff, but he says a lot of stuff in there that is right up my alley. So you're either going to like me or hate me after you watch that video. But I think it's one of the better speeches of all time, and I believe, as Jim Jensen also said in social media here earlier, that this particular speech is what laid the groundwork for him being elected president in 1980. It was just 16 years later, and it's odd because when I think of this time back in the early 60s when everything was black and white. That seemed like a long time ago, even, to me, who was just becoming, an adult around 1980, 1981. And looking back that far, that was a long time ago. But if you think about that, that's about as far back as the turn of the century here for us now, between... so I don't know who was coming up around 2000. None of the people in the current field, so I don't know. But this was a pretty groundbreaking and sort of anti-establishment sort of speech.
Well, like
and that's kind of how I feel. I don't think. I'm sorry. I don't think these guys have any business meddling in this kind of stuff. They don't know what they're doing.
That's obvious.
Just because they don't have a personal stake in any of this stuff, there's not enough incentive for them to make the right decisions about stuff. One should ask oneself the question: if you put the North Valley Industrial Park up for sale, would anybody buy it? I think the answer to that is no. Because what would be the benefit of it? So it was done as a welfare project to we're going to have some industrial stuff going on here, and so they make an industrial park place where people can do. Why didn't they just say, here's a place here where you guys can come in and do whatever, and let them pay for the sewer and the water and all of that stuff that has to be done in order to accommodate an industrial park there. But instead they took this on, and it's a white elephant. Is there a profit to be made from having, the county set up an industrial park? I don't know. I doubt it very seriously.
And turn it over to the city in 12 years has been rumored?
I think the whole thing is a financial loser. And why would you do it? So you can say, look what we did. We brought industry to town. If I'm coming to town with industry, I'm going to look around for a place to put my industry. And, and if county doesn't mess with me too much, I'll pick this spot over here, which is my own choosing, and go, that's where it's going to be. Why don't you just create the circumstances in this area that allow for and promote economic growth and promote industry, and bing, it will come. And you won't even have to make a place for it. It'll come and say, I want to be here so bad, I'm going to make the place for it myself.